Why is BTS's performance of DNA so awesome? Hi, I'm Dr. Mark, and I'm going to help you sing and perform more like the top artists around the world. I'm a professional voice teacher, performance coach, and opera stage director. I've helped thousands of singers around the world learn the techniques and methods that got the top singers to where they are. Today, I'm going to react to and analyze BTS performance of DNA. Here we go.
서로를 불러왔던 것처럼 내 혈관 속기에 네가 말해줘 내가 찾아 헤매던 너라는 걸 우리 만남은 수학의 공식 종교의 유물 후회서 니 내게 주어진 운명의 증거 너는 내 꿈의 출처 Take it 너에게 내밀 내 손은 정해진 숙명
Okay, so let's talk about what we're looking at and what we're hearing here. There's a few things that we're seeing. One is we're seeing these tall vertical lines in what are probably LED panels or maybe even just strips with light hitting them. When we're talking about vertical visual elements, usually that creates a feeling of things being stagnant. It creates a kind of sense of permanence, lack of motion, and movement. So what's interesting here is two things. One, because that's in the background, it actually accentuates BTS's movement because we see them passing these things and it gives us a reference for their movement and gives us more action visually when they move past them. So imagine the difference. Imagine that you just had a blue screen and as they moved across versus a screen that had vertical lines where we saw as they passed lines disappearing and coming back. There's a lot more going on visually. So it creates a sense of excitement. The other thing that you have going on here with these vertical lines is that at the top of them, they're creating angles, which these angles that the tops are creating also adds visual interest and a more dynamic visual quality, and you'll notice these angles lead to where the singers are at. So it's essentially they're pointing to the singers and drawing our attention there. So this background is actually serving really well to highlight the performer, highlight what they're doing, and are designed in a way to accentuate that. If you don't have the benefit of having a professional set designer or lighting designer, then thinking it through yourself. If you can manipulate and change the set and what's around you, even if it's with lamps or existing pieces that are already there and can create interesting structure, great. Then use that to draw attention and create contrast and visual lines that are going to draw our attention to you. If we're talking about clothes, make sure that what you're wearing works with the other people on stage with you and that the colors tie in together and that whatever you have going on light-wise is going to draw attention to your face and where we're wanting to look at. And here, obviously, awesome. Vocally, what we're hearing here is some pretty just smooth, easy singing. We're hearing really consistent airflow, and we're hearing that placement stay really forward, speech-like. One thing you can do today, which we haven't talked about in past videos, I don't think, but I think is a great exercise in helping someone start establishing this consistent airflow with this speech-like quality, is just try to read a paragraph or page in the book, any book, newspaper, magazine, and try to read as long as you can without taking a breath. How far can you get? And keep working until you can get all the way down that page or as far as you can possibly get, expanding and expanding, expanding. You're going to find that by making that your goal, your mind and body are going to find ways to use your breath more efficiently. And by using your breath more efficiently, it's by default going to start smoothing it out and getting much more consistent air pressure. Okay, another thing that came up in a lesson that I had this week, a singer felt like when they were singing a song from another singer that they needed to match the volume level, the decibel level, without thinking about it that way. But that's essentially what they're trying to do, right? They're trying to make it sound as loud as what they were hearing. The trouble with that, especially when we're talking about pop, rock, opera, anything that's not live and acoustic without mics, is that really the microphone is responsible for the decibel level, and the voice is responsible for the shaping and color of the sound and the ease of production, right? So the analogy would be like this. You have an acoustic guitar and you have an electric guitar. The electric guitar is not plugged in, right? Which one is going to sound better? Well, the acoustic guitar, because it's got this big resonant body, right? It doesn't matter how hard you pluck the string on the electric guitar, it's never going to sound as rich, full, and exciting as the acoustic guitar. Now, just to make sure you understand what I'm saying, once you plug in that electric guitar, different story. But what we're dealing here with the voice, it's an acoustic instrument. Even when you put a mic in front of it, it's still an acoustic instrument until it gets to that microphone. And so when we're dealing with singing, what we have to be aware of is making sure that we aren't confusing decibel level with quality of sound. We need to make sure that our first priority is creating a space in an instrument where we can just barely pluck the strings of the guitar or barely get these vocal folds resonating or get them resonating in an efficient manner, and then let the acoustic properties of our mouth, our sinus cavities, everywhere else that we can manage to use to create this sound that we're wanting to, that matches the style. So you'll notice here what they're doing when they're singing is they're keeping this space open here in the back, about 80% of a smile, not tall, sideways, like they're smiling and yawning at the same time, and really singing super easy, not worrying about trying to make it super loud. That's crucial because they're dancing so much. If they were trying to sing super loud and dance all at the same time, it just wouldn't work. It doesn't matter how hard you work out and how much you're working on a treadmill, trying to sing super loud and dance at the same time, at least this much action and keeping it smooth and consistent and sounding professional, not going to happen. They had to learn how to be super efficient and use the microphones as they should be used and use them wisely so that their voices just have to make gorgeous sound and not worry about having to make it loud. So, awesome. Okay, other thing I want to point out here, mouth. You'll notice that from here forward, there is release. There's probably more space here in between the front than you're used to speaking, especially if you're West Coast USA. We really are pretty lazy with this mouth and don't really use a whole lot with it. Even Southern USA, we're pretty lazy here. In fact, USA in general, we're pretty lazy here. But you'll notice that there's a little bit more space, but for the most part, they're just keeping from here forward similar to like they were talking, but talking in a more animated way, right? Like they're talking to a senior citizen or talking to someone in a loud social space like a cafe or something and needing to be heard. They're being a little more articulate. What you can learn from it today is start watching the singers that you're wanting to sound like. Really pay attention to how tall it is here in front, how much space is between the teeth and lips when they sing and open their mouth, how much space is side to side and wide here, how wide do they open their mouth? And then try to also pay attention to how open and lifted this place and what kind of shape it is. Is it tall or is it wide? And then try to match whatever you're seeing them do with yourself. Sing in a mirror, sing in a camera, and see what the difference is in your voice. What does it change? Now, our goal here isn't necessarily to have you imitate these singers. What it will do is help you learn from these performers who are having to perform day after day after day, and by default have to sing efficiently because otherwise they won't make money, and there's all these people depending them on making money. They make money by performing and being able to sing day after day after day. So why not learn from them, imitate them, see what it feels like for a little bit, And then keep the things that make singing easier and get rid of the things that don't.
It is love. I want you to love. 나에게 맞을 중에 좀 더 세게 나를 꺼내. 최초의 DNA 단언하는데 이건 필연이야. I love us. 우리만의 true lovers. 그녀를 볼 때마다 소스라치게 너네. 특이하게 자꾸만 숨이 멎는 참 이상해 설마. 이런 게 말로만 듣던 사랑이란 감정일까? 애초부터 내 심장은 널 향해 뜨니까. 걱정하지 말라.
Okay, another thing I want to point out is if you're watching here, the temptation for people, if they're trying to imitate BTS, is to hear like this kind of rapping, this kind of like punchy sound, right? And they're going to feel like they got to put a bunch of air behind it, right? And they got to articulate each bit like not the case. The reason this is confusing because our brain thinks of singing as one thing, but really we have vowels and consonants and they function really different, and different consonants function very differently. And that's a whole totally different topic. But what we want to imagine is we want to be able to sing through the entire song on a vowel, being able to keep that breath flow super consistent. Not a whole lot of punchiness. There should be swelling and going down, but it should be a relatively smooth roller coaster without any abrupt drops, right? The punchiness, the sass, the edge comes from us using the consonants in either really aggressive ways, really strong consonants if we want it to be a little more edgy and a little more punchy, and smoother consonants if we're wanting it to be a little more smooth and less edgy. So give it a try. Try keeping the vowels super consistent, super smooth, and just adjust how aggressively you're singing the consonants and see if that gets the effect without you having to punch each individual note, both vowel and consonant, which is not what we want, to get that same sound. You're going to notice that your voice works a lot easier, gets tired a lot less fast, and works really well if you'll keep the vowel breath flow really constant and then try to keep that breath, at least in your mind, going through all the consonants as consistently as possible, and just focus on changing how aggressively you're using the consonants. Okay, so a few things that I'm noticing here is we have three performers who essentially, at least from a distance, look really similar in terms of what they're wearing here on the top. Essentially, there were three people wearing white shirts, and then the other performers are wearing jackets, right? And ties and different accessories. One of the things that is always dangerous about plain white shirts is that they can wash out our face. And they can read really hot, especially under stage lights, right? They can just pop and pull all the attention. So what you'll notice here is that the dark jackets are essential because they darken down the rest and kind of mute that white a little bit when they're together as a group. And then when they pop out as individuals, there's still this really dark background behind them where you'll notice here, if you're watching, it's not washing out their face so much, and we're able to see it, and it still pops them out. Now, if we had a lot of bright lights going on behind them, it would probably be too much and we would just lose their face. But again, knowing what's around you and what you can get away with is really important. The other thing to point out here is that they're being really deliberate about what they're wearing and creating this sense of all-togetherness and unity in a group while keeping this individual element as well, which is notoriously K-pop, and I love it. I think it's brilliant. Their ability to create individuals and a sense of ensemble at the same time. Love it. One of the things that makes even these white shirts that are similar to each other work really well and work with everything else that's going on is that they have layers, right? There's layers to this. So anytime we're looking at costume design, layers are usually a really favorable thing. They're favorable because they give a lot of visual variety and depth to the costume. The trouble with white is that it can just read really flat. It doesn't give us a lot of depth to the costume and kind of a unique quality. It just kind of blends into a unknown man. But you'll notice that they're choosing shirts that have detail work on them that make them pop out a little bit and still give them depth. And that's really important. So even though they're doing the white shirt thing, they're being really deliberate and choosing costumes that still have texture and depth to them. And so it makes it all work. Awesome. What can you do today? Think, what kind of layers can I add to this in detail so that it really reads as unique, that it really speaks to what could only I wear and get away with, what really captures the song, what really captures me, what really captures the story I'm trying to tell in a way that's unique, that no one else but me could wear and really have it match and work great. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for that unique personal look that has detail, and that's what makes it read as a professional costume.
후회하지 마, baby. 영원히 함께니까.
Okay, right there. You notice how they all came up and their lips were covered, no one was smiling? It created this kind of serious kind of mood to it, right? Maybe even slightly seductive, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, right? But it kind of this covered, misty look, right? And then all of a sudden we get this big bright smile and the crowd goes crazy. Brilliant use of creating contrast and making sure that what we're doing with our face means something. The easiest way to think about this is in every sad song, we should have a smile somewhere, even if it's a melancholy smile. And in every happy song, there should be a serious moment. Keep the contrast in there. Love what they did there. Awesome.
모든 건 우연이 아니니까 우리 완전 달라, baby. 운명을 찾아낸 둘이니까 DNA 라라라라라 우연이 아니니까 DNA 라라라라라 우연이 아니니까 DNA.
Notice how much more intense the lights get as we get more involved. Now, part of it might be that we're having these pan out shots, but you'll also notice when they do floor work, you have more floor lights popping up, right? Really important. I know it sounds super obvious, but if you watch enough performances, especially of people who are just getting going and trying to figure out what they're doing on stage, you realize how often the audience can't see what the performers are doing because there just isn't enough light on them, or that the light is too bright. It's all about finding the right balance, getting interesting angles, colors to really accentuate what's being done both with your body and your face. Awesome, love it here. Finally, I'm curious to what that ball thing in the air, it looks like an LED disco ball thing. I need one of those. Love it. As always, love BTS. I love how well they're able to capture stories while keeping such a consistent, amazing voice technique that is sustainable, that they can clearly do day after day after day after day with so much action and with everything working together in such a cohesive way visually with so much interest, as well as having that whole visual world match what we're hearing. So awesome. Tell me what you like down below, what you learned, what you think we can take away from this performance from BTS. Tell me what you want me to react to next, what you want to hear, and what you want discussed. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. If you are looking to find your voice, whether it's as a performer just trying to figure out how to express yourself with your body, or if you're trying to find an easy voice, this voice that just feels like it comes out effortlessly and that's your own unique sound that is native and organic and comfortable to you, book a time with me at foundyourvoice.com. Let me help you find your voice. You can also find me on wizio.com if you want a response to a short video or audio clip. I look forward to working with you online. See you next time.